Hello, hi there everybody, and welcome to my Week 11 UPA battle. That's what today's video is going to be featuring. If you have been watching my UPA run and how it's been going, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new, hi, I'm Galdite, the coach of this Calgary Flamethrowers team. We have 2 games remaining left in this season until playoffs, including this one today. I have already clinched playoffs because this run has been absolutely amazing, and we have clinched top 3. Regardless if we get first, second, or third seed, I'm going to be pretty happy with it. I do want to forewarn you guys now, if you are still watching and didn't already skip ahead, this battle is going to be on Showdown this week. The reason for that is because my opponent, Pat, his Switch is kind of poo-poo, and connection isn't really the greatest ever, so we just decided to do this. This is very scary because Pat is cracked on Showdown, and he's a very good battler. He is in general, but he's a little bit better on Showdown than Wi-Fi, so we are going to have our hands filled this week. He is 4-6, but he is definitely a lot better than his record shows. So please go check out his side of the battle this week and his channel, which will be linked in the description below. I will love you all if you do that. Not that I don't love you already. But that's all I have for this little intro portion here. Looking at our matchup, he's got hyper offense. That's usually the way he plays. He plays really well with it. Not one threat on his team is very scary, but with enough offense, he could find easy openings against my team. But I can explain more about that when I show you guys his team here. So looking at Pat's team this week, our opponent has a team consisting of G-Max Machamp, Blacephalon, Garchomp, Kartana, Blastoise, Drapion, Rabombi, Archeops, Emolga, Greedent, and Lilligant. Now, again, there's not one thing that's an immediate threat against my team, but the biggest threat definitely would be G-Max Machamp. I say that because this thing can do a lot against my team. He could either run AV, Flame Orb, Cobra Berry. Those are one of those 3 items I feel like he's going to end up running. And if he runs Close Combat, Stone Edge, EQ, and Heavy Slam, my team has a really big problem, only because he boosts his Spadef and defense depending on what move he clicks. And this Machamp's going to be so almost unkillable, even if I hit it with super effective moves. He's going to have Stone Edge just for the Charizard. He can one-shot it in G-Max form, which is extremely scary. It's something I definitely have to watch out for. And just CC for stab. I know he doesn't like to click She-Strike too often, but I mean, he's probably going to want to have the option, right? But this thing is going to be unkillable late game if he gets Spadef boost, so that's something I definitely have to look out for. SD Kartana can easily get a kill, though granted, if it is SD, it won't be Scarf, meaning I can revenge it rather easily, depending on who's left on my team. Finally, I do think he's bringing Archeops or Emolga to beat my Charizard, whether it's Spadef Emolga or like Speedy or Scarf Archeops. I could see one of those 2 coming this week, just something that I put a little bit extra prep into. And then that's kind of all I can really see here, honestly. Nothing else that's really standing out. I guess Shell Smash Blastoise, if it comes, could be a little bit annoying. But otherwise, that's just a rundown of my opponent's team. I will tell you guys my plan. His steel type is Kartana, so I do plan to kind of abuse that as much as I can. I have Comfey and Dragalge on the team this week, and I think they are going to put in a lot of work because Draco is free. Comfey is basically free in this game. And I can do a whole bunch of things. And I do plan on using Frostlass, who's also coming, and Comfey as late game cleaners. So I think I'll be okay, but I just have to be really careful and keep things in check. I do have to make sure I can't lose to any Choice Scarf Beast Boost Mon, and any Choice Scarf Garchomp in general. As long as I don't lose to any spammable move, I think I'll be okay. But that is going to wrap it up at looking at his team. What I am bringing it to this game this week consists of Frostlass, Dragalge, G-Max Charizard, Comfey, Crocodile, and Throw. Alright, first up on the team builder this week is Frostlass. Frostlass is rocking out with absolute max speed, 228 Spatak, and 28 HP, holding the heavy duty boots, moves being Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Spikes, and Destiny Bond. Now I decided to invest a little bit in HP because with this investment, I can live in Adamant, Choice Scarf, Garchomp, Earthquake from max HP. I thought that was going to be very nice. I do have max speed just, for general speed and the fact that I can speed tie with Archeops, which is pretty nice. I really didn't want heavy duty boots. I wanted a boosting on them really badly because it could have made a big difference. But if Rabombi did end up coming and they did bring webs, I need Frostlass to outspeed a lot of the base, like something between 100 and 109, like the Ultra Beast, the Garchomp, even the Archeops I can speed tie with. Like those things, I needed to outspeed or at least have a chance to. So I really just need the boots since defog isn't a priority on my team this week. Dual stab is just all I needed for attacks, just because they're super spammable. Special just being a little bit better in this game over the physical move set of Frostlass. Finally, spikes are pretty decent in this game. As much as I want to spam my stabs, especially late game if it comes down to that, if I have to just set up like hazard stack my opponent with rocks and spikes, I'm quite okay with that because that is still a pretty good option against them. Otherwise, this is Frostlass. I'm gonna use it late game, but I might have to use it early game as well. It really just depends on the nature of the game and all. But our next Pokemon is going to be Dragalge. Dragalge is max HP, max special attack with the Assault Vest with its item. Moves being Draco Meteor, Sludge Bomb, Scald, and Flip Turn. This is a great Assault Vest user this week because my opponent's special attackers I can switch in on pretty well for the most part. Stuff like the Blacephalon, Special Blastoise, and Rabombi come to mind, and the Emolga if it does decide to come. And because of the way my opponent's team is, if this thing comes in for free, I get to drop a Draco and claim a kill. That's just how it is. My opponent's got no good Draco switching at all. He would have to be like really spit F Blastoise to maybe take it somewhat well, and even then it would just do so much damage. This thing is just amazing. One thing I've had a little bit of trouble with Dragalge this season is that it's a good special wall, but a lot of my opponent's special attackers are ice or psychic types, stuff that Dragalge is weak to. So it's not really as good, but in this game, it's gonna have a really good matchup. I am a quiet nature just to have Flip Turn do a little bit more on Blacephalon because it almost does half, which is awesome. And that's mainly what Dragalge is here for. It's a special switch-in, but mainly for Blacephalon, just because without it, I could have a hard time switching into that. But that is going to be the Dragalge set this week. Third up is going to be our G-Max Charizard. Charizard is also holding the heavy-duty boots. Max special attack with a modest nature, 84 in speed, and 172 HP. Moves being a Flamethrower, Hurricane, Defog, and Roost. My opponent's got no flying resist besides the Archeops and Emolga. I keep bringing it up, but I'm so guaranteed that one of those two are coming this week. And I can just spam Airstream, and it's going to be a really fun time. I do have the speed investment to outspeed Max Speed Blastoise. I think that's what this is here for. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And I didn't really need any other moves besides Hurricane, and Flamethrower was nice for the Wildfire chip. I have Defog and Roost because I can potentially Defog in front of Rabombi and Roost, and it gives me a secondary switch into Kartana. I don't want to use it that way, but if I have to, I can. But again, it's just spamming Airstream, and Airstream basically is all this Charizard's going to probably end up doing this week. That is G-Max Charizard's job. Fourth up, we have our win con of the week. It is Comfey. This is max HP, max special attack, modest nature, with the choice specs. Moves being a Draining Kiss, Giga Drain, U-Turn, and Trick. If my opponent does not have the Clown with them, this is a free Pokemon, like insanely free. With Rocks up, I actually 2-ko a Kartana unless it's got some bulk to it, which is just stupid. And I even do a really decent chunk to the Clown as well if Rocks are up, which is awesome. Comfey has insane 1v1 potential, hence why it is going to be my win con this week. It can 1v1 so many things just because of the extra damage from specs, and on top of Draining Kiss being a broken move, I get like all my HP back every time my opponent hits me, so I'm not really too worried. U-turn for pivot momentum, Trick if I need to trick something, and then Giga Drain for like Blastoise and stuff, though I don't really see myself clicking that too often. And yeah, that's the Comfey set. It's definitely going to be a good cleaner if I can just chip down the Ultra Beasts, and I think that's kind of it for this set. Yeah, that's it. Fifth is going to be Crocodile. Crocodile is defensive, a lot of EVs, max HP, 124 defense, 92 speed F, and the rest in speed with an impish nature. Moves being being Stealth Rock, Taunt, Earthquake, and Foul Play. The item is Leftovers, and I'm Intimidate. Yes, this is one of like the few times I've brought defensive Crook this season. I think it's the second time. I could be wrong about that. But Rocks are extremely good against my opponent this week. Their defoggers are not the greatest. I guess Rapid Spin on Blastoise is pretty decent. But otherwise, they are going to be pretty decent to stay. I have Foul Play to deter my opponent from like SDing with Garchomp in front of my face. Kartana, though I don't really want to stay in on Kartana anyway. That's why I have Foul Play over Knockoff. I feel like it'll be a little bit more useful this week. This does deal with the Archeops Emolga duo that I keep bringing up pretty well for the most part, since I have Taunt to stop the Roost attempts from those Pokemon. And then finally, I do plan on using Crocodile early to mid game, just to use it as like, you know, an initial switch in, get a feel for my opponent's team, intimidate things, take hits. It's not going to be around forever, but I do see it doing its job pretty effectively in this game. Finally, we have our utility mon of the week. It is Throw. This is max HP, 164 defense with an impish nature, and the rest in attack, holding the leftovers, moves being Storm Throw, Knock Off, Ice Punch, and Protect. This is a utility mon because it can kind of fill a hole that I'm going to need in this game. Some and most of these include stalling out G-Max, taking a hit from Kartana, 1v1 in Garchomp, or even the Blacephalon. It's basically a get out of jail card with this thing because it can take on almost anything, but it can't do everything, so I do have to pick and choose how I use this Pokemon. The plan is to use it for the G-Max. If I do have to use it in other ways, I will. And that's just all Throw is here for. Not the most important mon, but it does have a decent role in the game regardless. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for the team builder. I hope you guys enjoyed it if you watched through it. Once again, this is going to be on Showdown, and I didn't mention it before, but this is going to be a post-com just because I couldn't figure out how to record properly doing a live com. It was a whole ordeal. It's hard to explain. Anyway, we're going to jump in the battle, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so here we are in the battle. As you guys know, I do like to play my replays on slow mode, and I don't usually pause, but I am actually recording off OBS, so I probably will do it. I used to not do it off OBS, it used to be a whole process. But anyway, he brings the Archeops, Blastoise, the Clown, Kartana, Garchomp, and G-Max Machamp. Not gonna lie, I got all 6 right, basically what I was expecting. The only thing that could have been different was the Emolga for the Archeops, but he went this route. You see what team I have. I'm thinking for the leads that I'm actually going to go with the Crook route just because rocks look amazing. I really do think he's going to be offensive Blastoise, so I don't think he's got removal, and if he does, it's on Archeops. So I'm going to be cool with that, and we can actually start this battle now. As like I said, I'm going to lead off with the Crook as they lead off with Clown. They brought Choice Specs Mind Blown I think last week or 2 weeks ago, so I wasn't going to risk my Crook turn 1, but they can switch out into the Archeops. As I wasn't really expecting that, but that's fine. I can just go right back out into Crook and get the Intimidate off, as my opponent is going to just fire off an Earthquake. It really doesn't do too much. And now I do expect them to just go for U-turn, so I am going to throw up my Rocks, which are very crucial in this game. That does a decent chunk, and Crook is a little bit chipped already, but again, not really a big deal. Kartana comes in, and I do have a switch into the Throw here. Using Throw early does kind of suck because I wanted to use it for Machamp, as they're actually going to go for sub, and I'm like, oh crap, I need to break this thing sub ASAP, so I'm just going to go for Storm Throw. They go for Leaf Blade and show that they're not life forward because they're leftovers. That's fine, though that does still do a crap ton of damage. Now, I'm just going to stay in and fire off a knockoff as they actually stay in Leaf Blade. That kind of sucks because I click knockoff again, right? I wanted to catch like the Machamp coming in and knock off maybe its AV or whatever item it's holding. That's what I really wanted to do there, or whatever Blastoise is holding. I didn't actually expect them to stay in, and because they did, not only that can they knock me out, but this thing's not in range of Draining Kiss, which is really what I wanted to be in the first place. So that was a pretty big misplay on my part. I don't like no other way to really put it. As Throw is going to drop and Kartana is going to get a Beast Boost here. I'm going to Frost Ice to revenge it because he doesn't have a good switch into it, as he's just going to sack off the Kartana. So I guess the trade, it's kind of okay, but it really just depends on how my opponent plays. They go into Archeops, which is not Boots, so I'm going to switch out and save it. I feel like this thing is going to be Scarf. As they go out and they just click Rock Slide, it just does nothing to Crocodile. And here I'm going to actually fire with an Earthquake, expecting like the something else to come in, as he actually throws up rocks. And I wasn't really expecting that. Granted, it's not really the biggest deal in the world, but I could have just easily put this thing into defeatist range and it wouldn't be the greatest threat to my team. But because I made that misplay, I do have to live with this Archeops being around and not in defeatist for a little bit longer. This time I'm going to U-turn as I foul play, and I'm like, if they go into Machamp, I'm going to scream. Luckily, they go into Garchomp, so this actually does work out for me, as I do get decent chip on this thing. It is rough skin, so I am really weakened at this point. I thought about saving this, but I don't actually have a good switch into this thing at this point, so I do just sack off the Crocodile. It is 5 to 4 to my opponent, but I can really revenge this thing. A Draining Kiss was a roll from this range if he was no bulk, so I decided not to risk it and go into Frostlass, and he just sacks off the Garchomp, which is great. Comfy late game does look nice, especially if the Clown isn't Boots, as Archeops comes back out, and because he is not Boots, he's at an odd number of HP, he is not in the Fetus range, so I do decide to risk the Speed Tie, and you see I get it. That does suck because I looked at my opponent's team afterwards, and it was indeed max speed Archeops, so it was a Speed Tie. I do apologize, that could have made a big difference in the game, and it probably did. Winning that did help me out quite a bit. Gave Frostlass a 3rd kill in this game, which is nice. But I do apologize for that Speed Tie. It is pretty nice though, because I get to keep my Frostlass around for longer. As I bring out Blastoise, I don't want this thing set up. What I probably should have done here is I go for the Shadow Ball, is go for Destiny Bond. I do get a Spadef drop, and the White Herb goes off, so they're gonna smash here. I could have just Destiny Bonded there because they would have been forced to either attack me and die, or set up another smash, and I could have killed it at that point. So a little bit of a misplay. I do get a Cursed Body, but it doesn't really matter here because I am Specs Comfey, and I'm going to Giga Drain it and kill it. That does mean I can bluff that I'm Specs or not. Like, they don't know what set I am quite yet. But, yeah. Clown comes out. It is not Boots, which is amazing. I can just go on the Dragolish because it's not doing much in this game at this point. They go for Flamethrower. It does nothing to this Mon whatsoever. And now I decide, I think I'm just going to Flip Turn as I just die actually. I don't want Dragolish in when Machamp comes in, and that's why I was going to Flip Turn there. So now it's Gmax Machamp versus Gmax Charizard and Comfey, right? I'm going to go out into Gmax Zard in a second just to see what item this Machamp is. I think my Comfey has a lot better of a chance of 1v1ing this Machamp than the Charizard does, because of course my opponent's going to prepare hard for Charizard. As I'm going to decide to Gmax and just Max Guard first. There's no way they don't attack me here. It'd be kind of insane if they just didn't click an attack. So I get to waste one of their Gmax turns. As I do Max Guard, and they're going to have the Max Rockfall, which is not shocking at all. Now we get to find out if this thing is going to be AV, as it's actually Koba Berry. So they're going to take the Max Air Stream with ease, and they're going to knock me out with the Max Rockfall. I'm really happy with this exchange because I didn't want Machamp being in a position to where he could get a Max Quake Up and boost their Spadef. So having Charizard 1v1 Machamp first is the reason I did that. Now I'm going to go into Comfey. Unfortunately, this thing is not in Draining Kiss range. It's not AV, which is really nice, but it's still not. If this thing has a Heavy Slam, it wins. Otherwise, Comfey should be able to live any one hit, even if it's Bullet Punch, Max Steel Spike. I should live. And then 2 Draining Kisses will knock out the Machamp because it's not AV, because its Spadef is not boosted. So we're going to see, does Calpat have Heavy Slam on the set and knock me out in one hit? I'm going to Draining Kiss. I'm going to get a crit. It shouldn't matter too much because they need a one-hit KO here. They have Max Strike, and they do not knock out Comfey. And Machamp is going to die to its own Sandstorm, and we are going to win 1-0. I said the crit didn't matter because the next turn I would always kill it anyway with 2 normal Draining Kisses. But yeah, that's going to just wrap up the battle here. GG to my opponent, Pat. I'm sorry about that Speed Tie because, again, you would have just knocked me out with Rock Slide. And it probably would have made a difference. No way to put it. But looking at our side, we are going to move up to a 10-1 record, which is just absolutely amazing. Definitely one of our best seasons ever. We did finish off APM lower tiers 10-1. That was my best season so far. We do have one more game left, which is going to be next week in the UPA against JB Westside. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. And if I win that, it'll be, my best season ever in draft so far, which is pretty awesome. GG to my opponent, Pat. Again, make sure to go check out his link in the description below. Again, I'll love you forever. And that's really all I have for this battle. I hope you guys enjoyed this post-com on Showdown. Next week we'll be back on Wi-Fi, and we'll be all dandy. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.